Well, not the same time, but roughly the same time. It's close enough. It is close enough, though. We got another top 25 matchup that's happening roughly at the same time. We have number 14 Utah making the trip out to LA, the city of angels, to take on the Trojans of USC, led by Caleb Williams. Now, this is an interesting case to see how much wounded animal mode really does matter. Because USC, the way that USC played last week in that game against Notre Dame, I'm sure that USC wants to come out and prove that they can dominate against their competition. And I'm sure Caleb Williams wants to prove that that game against Notre Dame itself, where he ended up with, I believe, 5 turnovers in that game against Notre Dame. I think he's going to want to prove that that game against Notre Dame was completely and absolutely a fluke. It's the worst game of Caleb Williams' career. The thing that I think about, though, is I think of what Notre Dame was able to do in that game against USC. And I can't help but think that Utah could possibly replicate some of the things that Notre Dame was able to do defensively. I mean, look at how much Utah has allowed defensively this year, and that's even with essentially a backup quarterback all year. They've only allowed more than 20 points one time this year. That was when they went on the road in Corvallis and lost to that Oregon State team 21-7. So when Utah has lost this year, it has not been an issue of their offense. It's been their defense. Or no, I got that flip. Defense was not an issue. Offense is what has been inconsistent. Now, their offense could very well be turning quarter for the Utah Utes. They put up 34 against Cal. And USC's defense, quite frankly, has left a lot more to be desired. USC is coming off of its third straight 40-plus point performance that defense has allowed this year. Because not just the 48 that they allowed against Notre Dame last weekend. They also allowed 41 against Arizona and 41 against Colorado. So if the Utah offense, even without Cam Rising, because we still haven't seen Cam Rising. He tore more than just an ACL, just one ligament. He tore basically everything is his knee. So we really don't know if we're actually going to see Cam Rising this season. I am not terribly sure. I think it's more likely he gets a medical red shirt and extra year eligibility because of that. But if Utah's offense without Cam Rising is going to turn a corner this year, you would think that it would be against this USC defense, which is among legitimately one of the worst in the entire country. But another reason why I think Utah can replicate some things in terms of being able to repeat what Notre Dame was able to do was that USC's offensive line. Last year, USC's offensive line was considered a strength of this team. One of the biggest strengths outside of Caleb Williams. And now, at best, it's a question mark. At worst, it could be a liability. And Utah's got a very good pass rusher by Jonah Ellis. He is currently number 2 in the nation with 9 sacks. And historically, Utah has been able to fluster Caleb Williams. Utah got 11 sacks in those 2 meetings last year, both of which Utah was, in fact, able to win, both in Salt Lake, Utah, and also in the Pac-12 championship game as well. So here we are, a little bit of barbecue on the titties. One thing that is working in USC's favor, one thing that I will certainly say on the matter is that at least USC is going to be home, and it's easier to bounce back and try to win at home versus trying to bounce back against, say, on the road yet again. They do have that advantage going in their way, but we'll check out what the game line currently says. It's currently listed at -6.5. The model not only thinks that the wrong team is favored, the model thinks that it has quite a swing. It has Utah -7. So the question is so it's twofold. Does Utah generate enough big plays and show enough consistency on offense to put more pressure on Caleb Williams, maybe force the USC to be a little bit more one-dimensional and put it on Caleb Williams' shoulders to the point of where maybe he feels the need of playing hero ball? Because that's really what happened in that Notre Dame game, was that Caleb Williams was forced to play hero ball. And because of that, that's where a lot of those mistakes ended up coming in as a result of them playing that, so to speak, hero ball, right? So if they can do that, Utah has a good chance. And then USC, conversely, we've seen inconsistencies of Utah. So conversely, if the USC defense is finally going to turn it around in Pac-12 conference action, this is the game to do it. Because I think in terms of the games that they have left after this, besides maybe Cal following this weekend, they're not going to play against an offense that's worse than what Utah's is. Because they'll also have Washington, Oregon, and UCLA all happening at the same time, or at least at the end of the season. They're going back to back to back like a Drake song. And I feel like it's more likely for me to believe that because Utah could create just enough offensively, that they'll be able to find a way to win this game. So the USC line has increased quite a bit since this opened up. It originally opened up at 5.5. I've seen it at as much as 6.5 all of a sudden. But we're going to side with the model. Well, I don't think it's going to be a 7-point win for Utah. I think Utah finds a way to win this game, knocks USC out of college football playoff contention, and then with USC getting a conference loss and Washington possibly still being undefeated, depending on what they do against Arizona State, I think the race for that second Pac-12 spot to get to the Pac-12 championship in Vegas is going to get a lot more interesting. And we knew that this is going to be an extraordinarily fun conference to watch. Wasn't joking to you guys. It's going to be a fun one. But to answer y'all, in terms of what I think is going to happen, I think Utah is going to win. And we're certainly going to take that 6.5 that Vegas is going to be giving us for this upcoming matchup in LA, California.